We are live at CES 2014 here at the Engadget stage in the Las Vegas Convention Center. I am Brad Mullen, Senior Mobile Editor for Engadget. To my right is Brian Heater.
Hey, Brad.
And to my left, we have Pebble CEO Eric Migicovsky, and a familiar face, the Chief Evangelist, Myriam Joire.
Hello, everyone.
Good to have you guys. Thank you for coming. You guys had a rather large announcement this year at CES.
A pretty shiny announcement. It's a follow-up to our first watch. We're calling it Pebble Steel.
Yes. And
it just came out, yesterday.
Yeah. Now, I find this very interesting because this is not necessarily like a Generation 2.0 product. It's more of a complement to your original lineup.
We look at it as a design upgrade. So with our first watch that came out last year, we focused on just getting the product out there. We had 85,000 Kickstarter backers who were eagerly anticipating their watch. So our job was very clear: get the watch out and start working on the SDK so that developers could start building apps for Pebble. With Pebble Steel, we decided to do a visual upgrade. We introduced premium materials like CNC milled stainless steel and Gorilla Glass. But I think what we also focused on was keeping a consistent, solid platform that developers could build against. So the cool thing about Pebble Steel is that it's fully compatible with all Pebble software and apps. So when we launch the App Store at the end of the month, the Pebble App Store, it'll be possible for people to install apps on both Pebble and Pebble Steel.
Yeah, I think the App Store is a very important part of what you got going on, especially here at CES. One of the biggest frustrations that I had using the original Pebble is the fact that your apps are all over the place. Like there's plenty of developers that come out with these apps, but where do you actually find them? That's always the puzzle. So having this App Store to get them all in one place, I think will bring a lot more developer support as well.
There's actually been, it's very true. There's been a lot of different places that you could find Pebble apps. There's My Pebble Faces, there's a watch face generator. So the Pebble App Store will be the first sort of consolidated platform, both for developers to get the word out about the apps that they're creating for Pebble, as well as all the Pebble users who are downloading and using these apps. We're also pretty proud to announce some partners at CES. We started working with Mercedes, Pandora, ESPN, and then we're also rolling out apps from Yelp, Foursquare, iControl, and a GoPro app.
Right. I'm very impressed to see you take this from a very simple watch to essentially a very complex ecosystem of sorts. Like you can do pretty much anything that you need to.
So yeah, and that's kind of the goal here. I mean, we're not just creating a bunch of hardware and encouraging developers to write great software. We're creating a platform, an ecosystem for wearables. We're the first, right, Eric? We're like the first to create something that, from the ground up, defines what wearables are going to be.
Right. I mean, is that a hard road to hoe, though, when you come out, when you offer up something as a platform, as a brand new company? I mean, obviously there are a lot of mainstream manufacturers doing that. Google Glass is a pretty good example of a company coming out with a device and waiting for software to come. How hard was it early on for you to get third parties on board?
Well, I think most brands and most smartphone apps are quite interested in sort of getting onto a wearable, but I think the task is still up to us, as well as the people that we're partnering with and third-party developers in general, is what do you want to see on your wrist? Like, what is the right level of interaction? Pebble is not meant to be a replacement for your smartphone. You know, your smartphone and your tablets have a lot of utility, a large screen, color, for typing.
Yeah, and on that note, what can you do? I mean, obviously there are hardware constraints here, the key one being the display. There's only so much you can do with the display that small.
So we're focusing on bringing small components of smartphone apps to the wrist. So when we talk to a partner, we think about their smartphone app, and we think about what is an identifiable segment, like a subsegment of the app that we could bring onto the wrist. So for example, with Foursquare, obviously the Foursquare app on your phone has reviews, it has what your friends are doing, there's a lot of different components to it. But on the watch, it's very simple. It's a one-button check-in app. So you click the button, you open the app, and with one click, you can check into wherever you are. And so from that respect, it's all about simplifying the experience and focusing on what you actually want to do on the wrist, rather than like the world of possibility that you could do when you have your phone out.
Was it hard for these companies to wrap their brain around? I mean, obviously not the first smartwatch ever, but arguably the most popular right now. Was it hard for them to wrap their brain around why they would want to develop for this platform?
So it really depends on the company. Some people, like Mercedes is a good example of a company, a bunch of Pebble users at Mercedes that are engineers thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we integrated Pebble into our app, Drive Style? And they did, and basically, the partnership built from there. So it happens sometimes that way. Other times, we know that it would be awesome to have X or Y, and we approach them, and but I think ultimately we're there to kind of guide people who have great ideas about using Pebble, and we want to curate that. It's really important that these partnerships are relevant, because we need to make sure the user experience is delightful altogether, and that goes all the way down to the apps.
Yeah, and so for example, on the Pandora app, Pebble already was quite a good music controller, but the Pandora guys wanted to take it one step further. They wanted to enable some of the custom functionality that's only available in Pandora, like rating tracks and curating your music, and then switching between different stations. So they had to build a custom app just to do that, but it's on top of the kind of the Pebble, the basic Pebble framework.
Yeah. So why don't we do a quick demo here?
Yeah. Sure. What would you like to see? I've got it pretty much all on me here between
Yep.
two watches.
So there's essentially two different colors.
If you want to show this watch, this is
Okay.
we can hold this up. This is the what we call black matte finish. As you can see, it's coated in something we call PVD, which is physical vapor deposition. It's a really high-end finish used in the watchmaking industry and medical and aerospace. So this is all stainless steel, CNC machined, and it's got a Gorilla Glass cover in front. The stainless one, the brush stainless, is here with the leather band. It also comes with a stainless steel band. So both watches come with two bands, the color matching metal and leather. So what demo do you want?
Essentially, that's what I really wanted, is just show off
Just
the
show off
watch
the
itself.
actual watch, yeah.
Yeah.
Was this one of the main pieces of feedback that you guys got on the first generation, is that we want something that looks nicer?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we had launched this watch at CES, the first Pebble at CES last year. Once it started rolling out, we got a lot of feedback from people who said, like, I love Pebble. I love that it's lightweight, it's waterproof. I could use it while swimming, biking, during activities. But at the end of the day, when I'm going out for dinner, I might not be wearing a polycarbonate watch. I kind of will be wearing more of a classic designed watch.
Yeah.
And so we had to answer the problem. How are we going to get more and more Pebbles onto people's wrists? And we knew that we had to start branching out into different aesthetics and different designs. And so this is our first foray into a completely different space, more of the classic design smartwatch.
I'm going to say right there, because you said first. I mean, it sounds like you guys are probably looking even further ahead into what this is going to look like down the road.
So just to fill in some people, I know this is Engadget, everybody's well-versed, but I just, obviously that we didn't bring one of the original Pebbles. I don't know if you're wearing yours today, Brad. You are. There you go. You saved us. So, one of the things about Pebble Steel is that it keeps those attributes, those fundamental pillars from the original watch. We have a waterproof watch to 5 atmospheres, which is really usable in any kind of water situation. We have 5 days to a week battery life, which we had on the original. The awesome e-paper display, which is daylight readable, backlit, and it's a 30 frame per second capable display, so you can actually use some pretty cool stuff with it. It's not like a Kindle display.
Yep.
I think for us, we're in it for the long haul. We're building a platform, we're building an ecosystem, and it's our job to make sure that we can get onto more and more wrists. I think that developers trust Pebble because we're providing a consistent, solid platform that they can build against. But they know that now with Pebble Steel that we're starting to come out with other watches that attract a different subset of users to the platform.
Well, what kind of needs are you hoping to address in future versions of the watch? Like, what are some things that you really would love to see that just have not actually made it out to smartwatches?
So,
and I don't want you to obviously give away any.
No, please
secret.
give away anything. Feel free. This is the forum for it.
Well, I would love to, but I don't expect you to. But what are some challenges that
we're going to make a gauntlet next? It's going to be a full flexible display all the way around your arm. I just made that up.
Like a Flava Flav.
Yeah, really
necklace.
Really gigantic Pebbles, that you wear around your
that you wear around your wrist, gold.
The Boulder.
Smart
Gold-
bling.
gold
Actually, no
Pebble.
one's made smart bling yet. How come?
Essentially, it's we buy a bunch of Nexus 7s and hang them around our necks.
Actually, let's back up there a second. That's actually interesting. I mean, maybe that's the next step. Is smart jewelry? Is that?
We've seen it. I think actually someone launched a smart bracelet at CES this year that detects the amount of UV radiation that you're exposed to, and it actually looks like a piece of jewelry. It looks very cool. I think it's a Bluetooth LE sensor.
That actually brings up another point. We saw a lot of wearables last year, but this year it's insane. I mean, in the lead up, every single company out there has some sort of wrist wearable, pedometer, something like that. And I'm wondering, obviously, you guys were at the forefront of that, and I think you were really one of the first wearables to get people really excited about the space. It's becoming increasingly more difficult for you guys to differentiate yourself now that there are literally hundreds of wearables on the floor out there.
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, we have 300,000 Pebbles on wrists worldwide. And then the other thing is, we're the only one right now that's cross-platform in terms of, this is, again, not a standalone device. It's a companion device to your smartphone. We believe your smartphone is the computer you carry with you in your pocket, the interface to the internet.
Or for some people, 4 smartphones.
Exactly. And so what you want to be able to take little moments that happen on your smartphone that make sense to have on your wrist and put them on your wrist. And so, we're doing it cross-platform right now. Nobody else is, and I think that kind of gives us an edge. And I think that's why, there's something.
I was just going to add to that over time, I think for us, it's really about the ecosystem. It's about the apps, and it's about the different use cases that you can use Pebble in. It's not about a checklist of just different. I know everyone kind of says this, but we truly do believe that it's not just a checklist of specifications on the wrist.
Yeah.
We think it's definitely about the experience over time. One of our design philosophies is to build a product that meshes into your everyday life, and we kind of hold that true from the design of the hardware. Making it durable and long-lasting, to the software, making sure that it's usable at various points throughout your average week. I think for us, as we see more and more competitors come into the space, we'll be differentiating them into kind of products that we can work alongside, like sensors, Bluetooth LE sensors, and other body-worn devices. I think those are going to be the ones that kind of mesh very well into the Pebble ecosystem and platform.
And another thing to keep in mind is we don't make washing machines or fridges, right? So we can really focus on what we do and really make sure it's the best experience. It's about the experience. That's why we don't throw all the hardware in the kitchen sink onto these devices. We could, but really, ultimately, if you look at our history, every month a software update. It's about the ecosystem. It's about the platform. It's open. It's about this. To us, the App Store is a much bigger thing than the actual hardware we brought at CES this year.
And it's probably to agree. I mean, we spoke about this a month or two ago, and you had said that software has really been your main focus and working on the user experience. I guess it's also about how, we're going to be upgrading our smartphones every 2 years. We've got all these other devices we're going to upgrade. Is the idea to buy a device that you can actually keep around for a while?
So that's a very good point, and you kind of touched on something that we were thinking about as we designed Pebble Steel. So there are over 300,000 pebbles on people's wrists around the world, and when I mentioned last year that our focus is definitely on software, it is, and I think that's one of the reasons why with Pebble Steel we offer a completely compatible hardware architecture. Like, there's not as many upgrades to the actual chips and the gear inside the watch. We focused on providing kind of like an aesthetic upgrade that acts as a companion product to the original Pebble, which is still out there at $150. It's definitely the entry level, the sports and fitness geared watch. Over time, there will be feature upgrades, and there will be hardware, I'm sure, that comes out to improve smartwatch capability. But for us, in the short term, we're focused on how can the software act as that differentiating factor and the thing that changes over time and makes the experience better for pebbles that are on everyone's wrist rather than just the latest Pebble.
And one of the things that crowdfunding, that Kickstarter affords you, is you've got that connection with users right out of the gate that most companies don't. So you, like it or not, you've got that feedback at all times.
And that's when that came loud and clear for us right after we started launching launching Pebble, feedback from users all around the world. There's Pebbles in over 150 countries around the world now.
Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is that again, going back to this platform thing, if you look at Mercedes and their integration, it would never have happened if they didn't actually physically already have a Pebble and an SDK to try with. Because you see all these wearables out there today, and a lot of it is about, you don't see them in people's hands. So there's a lot of talk and thinking about what we could do with wearables, but we're actually doing wearables. We're actually living wearables every day. And by putting Pebble and a viable SDK in people's hands, they come up with stuff we couldn't even have thought about. Like the Mercedes integration basically lets you use the 3 buttons on the right side of the Pebble to remote control, like to shortcut onto the infotainment system and give you feedback back via the vibration motor without using the display at all. So it doesn't interfere with the safety of driving. And we would never thought of that until now. All we thought about with cars and Pebble was like you unlocking your doors from outside the car, but never anything inside the car. And so this is, I think, what's critical is that because we have a product out there, we can drive this innovation because nobody else is trying.
So what's the craziest thing that you have actually seen come through your headquarters?
Eric, you got a bunch of those.
The craziest Pebble story. We heard a great story from one of our Pebblers. He was proud to say that his wife just gave birth to one of their new children, and in the delivery room, the doctor pulled up their jacket, checked their Pebble, and then dismissed the call or something like that right on the wrist during the labor process, which I thought was a great little Pebble experience.
You've got to wonder what call he was waiting for that he had to check it during that experience.
Right. It's kind of that's why it's such a funny story. It's like, okay, this is cool, but wow, right?
At least he had his priorities.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful.
So you touched on something a minute ago, which is that this like so many other hardware devices out there is the sort of thing that you've got to have out there, that you've got to see in person. We hang out at CES. I live in New York. You guys are all in San Francisco. So we're in these kind of tech hubs. We get to see these in person. I'm wondering, aside from that, how much coverage do you have? You guys are in Best Buy right now. What is the retail availability?
It's interesting. So we're in Best Buy, we're in AT&T stores, we're on Amazon, and we'll be expanding our retail presence. But to be honest, a lot of our sales are happening on our website because we ship worldwide from getpebble.com. And I think it's a testament, again, to our Kickstarter backers, the fact that we had to build a supply chain and a logistics chain that could ship Pebbles worldwide. We kept that going with Pebble Steel. We're shipping worldwide from day one, and I think it's kind of a duty that we have to our backers and to our customers who live all around the world. Even our team is international. I'm from Canada. We have Dutch, French, Russian.
Myriam's from everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're primarily based in Palo Alto, but we're quite distributed actually.
Yeah.
So, we believe in this. I think very few Kickstarter projects seem to ship worldwide, and very few companies take it on right away.
Well, actually, I think Kickstarter companies do ship worldwide, but it's the other startups,
right,
the people who weren't launched on Kickstarter, that end up only launching in the US or something like that. And I try to convince people to go international because it's fun to see what people have to say all around the world.
So speaking of supply chain, I've got to imagine it's a little bit easier the second time around?
Yes.
Yes. We learned a lot.
We learned a lot. We also have expanded the team a lot. We grew from about 13 people at the beginning or when we launched the original Pebble, and now the company's over 45 people. So,
the original design, would it have just been too difficult to have made this kind of premium watch the first time out?
Yeah, and our priorities were different. At that point, we were 3 people at the beginning of our Kickstarter to a small team to 13 people. We had to be laser focused on shipping because that was the most important priority. We had to get the product out there. We had to start the trend so that the apps could come up and so the rest of the ecosystem could start forming. Now we have the chance to focus a little bit more on the premium materials and the design side of things. But yeah, I probably wouldn't have changed anything with the original Pebble, partly because the design ended up speaking for itself, and then we also got it out into the world.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to just quickly say is that, since we're at CES and a lot of you are curious, we've seen videos and photos, but if you get a chance to, stop us as we're walking around and looking at it in person, it is such a refined product. The level of fit and finish is so high. This is jewelry, and we're very proud of it. Touching it will, if you think you're not 100% convinced from just looking at pictures and video, touching it will sell you. It's that beautiful.
Very, very good evangelist. Touching is believing.
Touching is believing.
I think that is a great tagline to end. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Next up, we're going to have Ford. So stay tuned. In the next few minutes, we'll be back. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for having us.